Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to News Dose, and I hope everybody had a great weekend. It was April Fool's weekend, so, yeah, of course, there's always a lot of annoying jokes being played and everything. Sure, there's a few good ones scattered throughout, but you know what? Amidst all that, there was also some really interesting announcements made, and just some different things that surfaced online. This did include a reveal that somewhat fixes a big problem that Xbox currently has with their series consoles. This could go a long way in adjusting the market for a better future for gamers. Also, and this is quite interesting, but it looks like a Game Pass handheld is on the way, and this one is looking quite intriguing, so you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for that. But as always, we do have a lot to get into today. This is News Dose after all, where I try to cover various topics every single weekday. You make sure to hit those buttons below to stay up to date. But with that out of the way, you know it. Let's just go and jump right into it, starting off with a fun little announcement made on April Fool's Day that flew a little under the radar. As I said, I know April Fools can kind of be a little annoying for some people, as you never really know what to believe. But Sega did something pretty cool here, as they both announced and released the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, so the joke here is that Sonic is, quote-unquote dead. They have a whole trailer on it and everything, and it's so outrageous that fans just immediately assumed that it was some kind of joke. But no, not really. Sega actually released this game on Steam for free. It's about a 2-hour visual novel experience where, as you guessed it, you investigate the murder of Sonic. It also has different mini-games thrown in throughout, but here's the thing. It's surprisingly well done. It does have a 98% approval rating. I mean, okay, sure, it is free, so that, of course, is going to play into its rating as well, but still, a fun little game to play through, so maybe go check it out and add it to your library. I like what Sega did here, though. I mean, sure, this game kind of plays off as a joke and everything, but at the same time, this is a great way to test the market for full-on future games like this if they choose to go into that direction. Either way, it's really just been so good to see so much good Sonic content here in recent years. Now, unfortunately, we do have a delay to talk about, and this one is pretty significant for both PC and Xbox players alike. Ark 2 has now officially been delayed from 2023 all the way to the end of 2024. So we're talking about a year-long delay here, but there's actually a lot happening with this delay and why it's actually happening. So they posted a big post about it. I do recommend reading the full article if you're really into the Ark series. But basically what's happening here is that Ark 2 is using Unreal Engine 5. So they're going to take the extra year to ensure they take full advantage of what Unreal Engine 5 has to offer. But in the meantime, they're going to go ahead and remaster the original Ark game, harnessing the power of Unreal Engine 5 to bring it more in line with what Ark 2 has to offer visually. Now, the reason that they're doing this is because they say Ark 2 is quite a bit different than the first game, and they understand that those changes won't necessarily be for everybody. They describe Ark 2 as being a little bit more Souls-like in terms of its combat and a little bit more serious in tone than the first game is. So what they're trying to do here is give fans options. If you like that original Ark experience, it'll still be there with enhanced visuals. That way you can enjoy it for the next 10 years plus if you so choose to. The only catch here, though, is that the new remastered version titled Ark Survival Ascended will replace the original version in August, and it'll kind of be a staggered release. When it first launches, it'll come with the Island and Survival of the Fittest game mode, and then later on, they're going to release the non-canon expansions for $20 a piece. Even worse here is that it sounds like currently there's no plans for a free upgrade path if you own the original. So that's where it's kind of a messy re-release, especially for fans who are currently enjoying the game as it currently is. And that's really unfortunate, as this is still a very popular game to this day. However, though, on PC and Xbox, Survival Ascended will cost $50, which will include both the first and second game, or at least for the first year, whereas on PlayStation it'll be $40, considering Ark 2 is exclusive to PC and Xbox, and of course it's also coming to Xbox Game Pass day one. Speaking of Xbox, though, they quietly had a pretty good weekend, really for two different reasons here. The first one, though, is flying a little more under the radar. Again, this is the problem with April Fool's Day. You never know what's real and what's fake. I mean, making a legitimate announcement on April Fool's Day, yeah, probably not the smartest decision in the world, but Asus did exactly that by announcing the ROG Ally handheld PC. Really just the way the trailer plays out, a lot of fans originally assumed that this was some kind of joke, but no, this is actually a real thing, and better yet, something that has a lot of potential. So this is kind of a competitor to the Steam Deck, but instead of it being based on Linux, this is a Windows 11 device, and that's a big thing because right away they are marketing it as a PC Game Pass handheld. This is advertised front and center with the Game Pass logo on its banner. So this is a big part of this handheld. Now, when the Steam Deck was originally announced, that was a big thing that a lot of fans were very excited about, the idea of having a Game Pass handheld. But it didn't exactly play out that way. Sure, you can get Windows running on the Steam Deck with PC Game Pass, you can dual boot it and everything, but the truth is, the Steam Deck works much better as a Steam machine than it does as a Windows platform. So this is kind of where the ROG Ally comes in. This is a handheld console built for Windows 11 specifically, and it will work with PC Game Pass out of the box without any extra tinkering. These are not cloud-based games either, but rather they will run locally on the ROG Ally. So more or less, this is a true Game Pass handheld, and this might actually be the best way to play Game Pass on the go. The reason for that is because this is actually a pretty impressive console in terms of specs. It is being described as twice as powerful as the Steam Deck with an even better screen that runs at 1080p resolution with a 120Hz refresh rate. I'll actually include a picture here that shows a comparison against the Steam Deck, and you can kind of see the big differences here. So that is huge for a handheld like this because a screen, it makes all the difference when it comes to handhelds. That's why I've recommended for such a long time that people upgrade to the Switch OLED because it does make a huge difference compared to that original Switch, and that's even without an upgrade in terms of power. So that alone is a big step up here. Here's the thing though, when you hear about all these different things, you immediately have to wonder, what's the price? I mean, we can kind of sit here and talk about how impressive this thing is all day, but the fact is, if this thing comes out and is priced above $1,000, yeah, it's probably going to be largely ignored. That's kind of one of the reasons that the Steam Deck is just so incredible. It's not necessarily the most powerful PC handheld, but what it does do is that it offers good power for an affordable price. Now, the reason that they can do this is because Valve has their own storefront in Steam. So they can pretty much do the same thing that console makers do, where they sell the Steam Deck at a loss per unit, and then just make their money back on software sold because they do get a 30% cut of every single game that they sell on Steam. This is a strategy that PlayStation and Xbox have often used in the past, so that's also why Valve can offer such an enticing price for the Steam Deck, and that's why third parties have struggled to make a dent in the PC handheld market because they just can't offer as good of a price. And I do kind of suspect the same can be said for the ROG Ally. This thing will, without a doubt, be more expensive than a Steam Deck. Now, they haven't confirmed a price just yet, but with that said, they did note that it will shoot for a competitive price. So there is that. What does competitive price mean to them, though? That's the big question here. I think that if they can get it to about $700, maybe $800 at most, that would be a big win for them, considering just how powerful they're advertising this thing to be. Yes, that's more expensive than the Steam Deck, but considering it is supposedly twice as powerful, plus with it being a quote-unquote Game Pass handheld, yeah, I'd say that there still might be a decent-sized market for a console like this. As for right now, though, we'll just have to kind of play the waiting game here, but you can currently sign up on Best Buy for them to notify you when it's ready for sale. However, let me know what you all think about the ROG Ally, and what's the most that you're willing to spend on a device like this. Now, sticking with Xbox here, a new NVMe solid-state drive memory card was spotted on Best Buy a little early, and this could actually fix a pretty major problem that they currently have with their Xbox Series consoles. See, a few years ago, when the Xbox Series first launched, they also announced their proprietary NVMe solid-state drive expansion option in partnership with Seagate, which, I mean, at the time, worked okay. The big perk here was that you simply plugged it into your console, like an old PlayStation 2 memory card, and, well, it just worked. The problem here, though, is that even though at the time the price was reasonably fair at around $220 for 1 terabyte, over time, yeah, that price has been a little less reasonable. That's been very evident as Sony chose to allow PlayStation 5 users to instead get their own third-party NVMe drives and just install it themselves into the PlayStation 5. And with the direction that they took, yes, it's a little bit more hands-on involved, but the price for NVMe solid-state drives have gone down in price quite considerably. You can now actually pick up a 1TB NVMe solid-state drive for around $100, making for a much more affordable option. I mean, both the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, they both have their pros and cons, but one thing has been very evident. Xbox needs to find a way to also bring the price down for their option as well. Well, one way to do that is by introducing more competition, and that appears to be what's happening here. A new 1TB Western Digital NVMe solid-state drive for the Xbox Series has now been spotted for $179. And while that's still probably a little too expensive, what this does is that it could be the beginning in driving down the price for this market. So here comes the Western Digital at $179, and then suddenly, consumers will buy that instead of the Seagate option. And Seagate, they know that. So what they're going to have to do is counter that with a more enticing price. If they don't, then consumers, they're just going to go with the Western Digital instead, leaving Seagate in the dust. This just once again is the importance of competition, and that cannot be understated. Seagate no longer has that luxury of being the only option on the market. So yeah, this could be the beginning of a more affordable solid-state drive market for the Xbox Series, especially if they continue to get more options out there. Now, one last update that's quite interesting is that Konami just opened a new studio in Osaka, Japan, under the slogan Creators First, which they're calling a major production center that has fully equipped motion capture equipment and sound studios necessary for product development. More so, the studio is supposedly designed to continue sustainable growth for the next 50 years. Now, there's still a lot unknown about this studio, but the way it's being described and some of the things that they've suggested here in recent years, there is some speculation out there that this means Konami is returning to the forefront of AAA gaming. Of course, there's already rumors that Konami is bringing back Metal Gear Solid and Castlevania alongside their recently announced Silent Hill games. But the thing about those games, or at least so far, is that it appears Konami has been licensing out their IP instead of handling it themselves. This new studio, however, this might be a way for them to kind of bring that development back to in-house. Again, though, we'll have to kind of wait and see how all this plays out, but it is, at the very least, nice to see Konami take core gaming just a little bit more serious as of recent. I mean, some of those beloved franchises that we haven't seen in a very long time, it looks like there is a chance, finally, that they're going to be coming back. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, with it releasing later this week in theaters, do you plan on watching the Super Mario Bros. Movie? I mean, I think this movie looks absolutely fantastic from an animation standpoint. We'll see about the story and everything, but yeah, you can see just how popular this might end up being, with 44% of you all saying yes, then 25% of you all said no, but you're going to wait for that Blu-ray digital release, and then 27% of you all said no, not interested. So nearly 3/4 of you all are interested in this particular movie. Once again, I think that it just shows you how massively popular this could potentially be, especially if it turns out to be good. Now, there has been some reviews rolling out over the last 24 hours, and most reviews seem fairly positive, which is a very good sign going forward. Something else that this movie might end up doing, though, because if this does have a lot of success for Nintendo, I think Nintendo is possibly going to try to experiment with more of their IP. I mean, we could see a Zelda movie in the future. Maybe they do something with Metroid or Pikmin. I mean, they just have so many options to play around with, and just considering how popular a lot of their IP is, we could get some really interesting projects in the coming years. Either which way, though, I as well am looking forward to watching this movie at some point. It does look really good. Hopefully it is as good as it looks, though. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.